there's a black and white movie. Well, it's not a full-length feature. It's only few minutes long. I think here in the UK they would call it a sketch, and I think this is it's a very very good way to name it. It's very old, very very old. It could be even 100 years old by now. So a very famous Hungarian actor. So it's a black and white short movie. A very famous Hungarian actor who is a comedian playing in it, and he is alone. There are two scenes. The first scene, the opening scene, is in the factory. He is working. And the second scene, he is in the shop. In the first scene, what we can see, that he is working like, very theatrically, movements, big range of movements. And you can see that he is hurried, very, very hurried. And he's keep on looking at the clock up on the wall because he wants to go home. This is the end of his shift. So what he does, he doesn't do the job properly, but he's like cutting corners. He wanna be done with it, and he's really hurrying. He's very anxious. He wants to go home. That's the first part. That's the first scene. And finally, the clock shows the exact time when he can grab his suit and hat and go home. Well, he is going to the shop. That's the second scene and the last scene because it's a short movie. And he is buying a suit. He is buying clothes. So what happens is that he's buying that, and as he is wearing that and walking home, the buttons on the suit start to fall off. And this is just karma, and I really like that sketch. After a couple of hours, we are much better informed about this. So I woke up with this. It was in my head. That's why I was talking about this, but I know the details now. So it's basically not a sketch. It's a 19 minutes movie, so almost 20 minutes, and it's not a full-length movie. I would still call it a sketch. Very famous people are in it, even in a small roles, and the story is how I explained it. But going to more details, the gentleman who is the main character, he is actually responsible for the buttons because he is working in a factory, and he does the buttons on the trousers, and he is madly in love with another called Mansika. And the movie, it's a black and white movie. It came out in 1951, and at the time, the most famous actress was Eva Rutkai, and she is playing the love interest of the main character. So the main character is very much in love, and that's why looking at the clock on the wall all the time and cutting corners and stuff, and just wanna go on a date, wanna finish the shift and just be gone from the place, from the factory. So he's going to the shop, and he decides to buy a suit to look better, look at his best, and he buys the same trousers he was making. So he buys the suit, and he is wearing it on the way to the date with Mansika, played by the famous actress at the time in the 50s, back in the 50s. And what happens is, because he was cutting corners, he was not paying attention, he was just, his head was all over the place. The buttons, because he's responsible in the factory in the buttons of the buttons, the buttons just decide to go separate ways. So it just keeps on falling off, and the trousers start to slide off from the main character. So he doesn't cancel the date. He's going on a date, but he's not honest. He doesn't share the problem with the lady. Instead, he decides to keep his hands in his pocket, so like this he can keep the trousers in place. And they going out, it's in the 50s, you remember, so they going to places where there is dance, and they don't dance like how we dance right now. There's like lots of hugging, lots of touching, lots of all sort of things that well, your hands are very much required to do the job. But the main character's hands are very busy because he needs to keep it in the pocket, because he needs to keep the trousers in place. And basically that's the story. And somehow I woke up with this in my head, this karma thing, that he's basically tasted his own poison. That's the end of the 90 minutes black and white movie, that he goes back to the shop, complains, and the shop owner goes to the factory. And because every single garments, every single shirt, every single trousers has a serial number, they find out that the actual person who complained about this, about the faulty item, it was actually the person who made it. And oh yes, I like this kind of stories so much.